What? You already have the divorce papers ready? I asked, incredulous. Yep. Scared you, didn't I? Lance replied smugly. I'm always ready for this, so you better think twice about what you just said. With that, my husband Lance stood up and went into his room. My name is Alice, a 28-year-old office worker. I married Lance a year ago after meeting him on a blind date. He pursued me, and after dating for a year and a half, we tied the knot. In hindsight, I might have rushed into marriage, driven by a vague desire to be married and have children before turning 30, so I accepted his proposal. However, I soon realized I should have been more cautious. The first shock came when Lance announced he was changing jobs right after we got married. I'm changing jobs, he said out of the blue. Why so suddenly? I asked. Because I can't show my full potential there, he replied. I thought, what the heck? He then told me he had already submitted his resignation and would be leaving at the end of the month. He managed to switch to a job he wanted, but the salary was lower than at his previous company. At the time, I didn't mind because I was also working. But then he started pressuring me to quit my job. I would have considered it if Lance's income could cover our living expenses. However, his new job paid less. Lance kept assuring me his salary would increase soon, but there was no timeline. If I quit my job now, we'd struggle to cover rent and other expenses. I told Lance, I will not quit my job until your salary goes up. He seemed to agree but kept asking me to quit periodically. Each time, I gave him the same response. Now, a year into our marriage, his salary still hadn't increased, yet he persisted. I was tempted to sarcastically say I'd quit, but then tell him I was joking and couldn't quit yet. If he wanted me to quit so badly, he needed to earn more money. He should focus on his own work before pressuring me. I wondered why he was so insistent and finally realized it was about his mother, Sarah. I just want to make things easier for you, Mom, Lance would say every time we visited his parents. Sarah would reply, Thank you, Lance. That's very kind of you. Lance would then glance at me, silently pressuring me to quit my job to take care of her. But Sarah wasn't ill. She was healthy, active, and financially independent. She enjoyed her hobbies and social life. If I were in Sarah's position, I'd be insulted at the implication I needed care. But Lance still wanted me to take care of her. Oh, if only one of us were home during the day, we could check on Mom every day, Lance would say. He wanted me to visit his parents' house daily. I asked him, Sarah is still in perfect health, so what do you want me to do? Lance replied softly, There are plenty of things you can do. Housework, running errands, helping her out. But with Sarah's part-time job and social activities, she isn't home much during the day, right? I countered. Even if she wasn't home, you could still do the housework, he said. What the hell is he saying? I thought. If I did all those things, I'd just be a housekeeper for her. Lance wanted to look good, especially in front of his parents. If he wanted to take care of them so badly, he should do the housework himself. I didn't have time for Lance's petty pride, so I didn't quit my job, nor did I visit my in-laws on my days off, except during holidays like New Year's. Come to think of it, Lance often gave me orders when we visited his parents together. He'd tell me to clean up, help his mom, or run errands. But I never did anything on my own. When I would say, Don't you know more about this area than I do? In response to being asked to go to the store, he would reply, There would be no point if I do it. I never understood what he meant by that. It seemed like he just wanted to make his wife obey him and feel good about how he was taking care of his parents. Gradually, that's how I started to see Lance. Was it because he wanted to look good rather than actually caring about me? One day, I boldly asked him, Why don't you try to help or quit your job to take care of your own mother? He looked extremely uncomfortable and disgusted. That's not something I'm supposed to do, he said. I'm giving you these instructions so that my mom will think you're a considerate, useful wife. I hope you realize how kind I am to you. So, in other words, he wanted to push all the troublesome stuff onto me and show off as if he did something amazing. But I am not his servant or slave, and I don't deserve to be belittled in front of my in-laws. If Lance continued to make unreasonable demands, I wouldn't stay silent. But he never changed his stance. He kept asking, When are you going to quit your job? And ordered me to do all kinds of things whenever we visited my in-laws. I reached the end of my patience and decided to talk it over with my husband. What do you mean talk? He asked. I thought we should discuss our future. Huh? What are you even trying to say? I'm honestly fed up. I'm fed up with you asking me when I'm going to quit my job and trying to get me to take care of Sarah. Why are you fed up with that? You're my wife, and you're supposed to take care of the husband's parents. Don't you think that's a big burden for me? Isn't it your responsibility as her child to help with the housework and take care of your own parents? No way. It's the wife's duty to do so. Are you the kind of person who doesn't care about family? I'm really disappointed that you would say such a thing. Let me ask you this, how have you been taking care of my parents? If I asked you to take care of them, would you do it? Lance looked at me blankly. What are you saying? Why should a husband take care of his wife's parents? So does that mean you aren't, and won't, take care of my parents? The husband's parents and wife's parents are totally different. What difference does it make? I can't understand. I didn't know that you were this clueless. It's like I'm talking to my old boss or something. What are you trying to say? I'm saying that the first priority should be the husband's parents. The wife's parents should be taken care of by you, the wife. What the? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. For Lance, the only family he prioritized was his own blood relatives. I'm so disgusted by you. I'm not going to your parents' house anymore. Huh. Why would you do that? Enough is enough. I'm the one who wants you to cut the crap. No way. How dare you talk back like that? My mom's right. Huh. Mom said you're a bad-behaved wife. That's why she gave me this. Lance pulled out a piece of paper from his bag. It was divorce papers. What? You already had the divorce papers ready? I was surprised, but Lance looked proud of himself. How's that? I scared you, didn't I? Because I'm ready for this at any time, so you better cool down and reflect on what you just said. With that, Lance got up and went into his room. No way. Why is Lance so selfish? His triumphant look made it clear he was using the divorce papers to threaten me into obedience. The fact that Sarah had prepared the papers confirmed my suspicion. Lance is a mama's boy, doing whatever Sarah says and trying to boss me around. I won't let him get away with this. Our marriage was already over. His lack of common sense made me even more irritated. Lance had already filled out the divorce papers and handed them to me. The witness column was signed by Sarah and his friends, so I could sign and file the divorce papers anytime I wanted. The next day, after Lance left for work, I filled out the divorce papers and submitted them to the city office. I'd also filed a notice of non-acceptance of the marriage certificate. I called my parents and explained the situation, knowing Lance might try to refile the marriage certificate if he heard about the divorce. My parents were surprised I had already filed for divorce, but were outraged by Lance's behavior. They offered to help me move my things anytime. I took a paid leave and had my parents come over to move all my stuff while Lance was at work. I decided to stay at my parents' house for a while. For the first time in a long time, I felt comfortable. Lance never did any housework. I was the one cooking, cleaning, and doing laundry, and he wanted me to take care of his parents too. It was impossible. That night, Lance called. Hello? Hey, where are you right now? I'm at my parents' house. Huh? Why the hell would you go back to your parents' house without my permission? And there's none of your stuff here. Don't tell me that you're staying the night over there. I almost laughed out loud. He really thought I was just staying over when I had taken most of my belongings with me. I moved out of the house. I'm not going back. Huh? What the hell are you talking about? Come back here and make me some food. Please prepare it on your own, I said, and hung up. I couldn't even talk to him about filing for divorce if he was going to be like this. So I decided to wait for him to come here and blocked his number. A week later, Lance finally got impatient and came to my parents' house with his parents. All three of them had grim looks. I led them into the living room, facing each other 3 versus 3. How could you be like this? I can't believe you would be gone for such a long time without my permission. Well, that's because you tried to use me as if I was your housekeeper, right? All I asked you to do was to take care of my family. My in-laws looked grim as ever. Sarah was glaring at me. Don't you dare say things like that. You always twist the truth to suit your narrative. You just force me to take care of things you don't want to do, don't you? I've told you many times that's not what I mean. What kind of wife are you when Lance is doing so much for you? Seeing Sarah speak ill of me, my father was trembling. I knew he would lose his temper if I didn't intervene. Before he could lose his temper, I repeated what Lance had said to me. Lance told me to stop working and help Sarah, saying it was my duty as his wife. But when it comes to my family, he pushed me to take care of them on my own. In the end, Lance just wants me to obey him, take care of his parents, and take credit for it. He's been saying things like how his parents are more important or that they are a priority over mine. Has Lance ever said such things in front of you? I asked Sarah. Sarah was still glaring at me, but my father-in-law, Robert, looked at Lance with a clueless expression. Apparently, Robert had not heard this story. Time to spill the tea. What I couldn't believe was that Lance brought up the divorce papers and told me it was Sarah's idea. What? Did you suggest that to Lance? Robert questioned Sarah. Well, that's because Alice has an attitude, you know. Lance, did you also say that Alice's parents aren't a priority? Oh, well, that's because it's only normal for your own parents to be more important. Don't be ridiculous. I supported you because I thought you were being mistreated, but from what I see, you're the one at fault. Don't be a coward and try to use your parents' authority to get what you want. Lance shrank down completely. Robert had said everything I wanted to say, and he apologized to us. To Alice and her parents, I am truly sorry for the trouble my stupid son has caused. I will strictly lecture him, so. Robert, you're not at fault at all, so please look up. And thank you for your kind words. But I still have one more thing to say. Lance asked, What do you mean? The divorce papers you gave me, I already filed them. We're not married anymore. What? No. Lance and Sarah both turned pale. Why did you do that without my permission? Lance demanded. You told me you could file them anytime you wanted, and you already filled out your part and had Sarah sign as a witness. Of that was, did you abolish? For what? No. Lance glanced at Robert, who was fuming. You said you used them to threaten me. I added on Lance's behalf. How can you be so stupid? Robert struck Lance on the cheek. Sarah was shaken. I sincerely apologize that you had to see that. You were right to divorce this idiot. I'm truly sorry for how Lance destroyed your marriage. Saying that, Robert grabbed Lance by the neck and said, You both better apologize too, and made Lance and Sarah apologize as well. Then he left the house with them. I have to thank Robert later. He definitely saved my parents from losing their temper. Robert made sure that all of Lance's property went to me in exchange for no alimony. Since Lance couldn't go against Robert, I was entitled to all our savings and assets from our marriage. I had a higher income than him and ran the household, so it was fair. But I can only thank Robert for making sure the entire amount, which would have been split unfairly, went to me. I heard that Robert was so disgusted with Sarah that he divorced her. Recently, I met a colleague from Lance's old workplace. He told me Lance wasn't good at his job and was scolded by his boss constantly. Lance had resigned to spite his boss and changed jobs. I had never heard this story before, and I was fed up with Lance. Lance had blamed everyone for his own lack of ability. That's why he didn't earn much at his new job, so I'm glad I left him. I rented a single-room apartment and lived comfortably on my own. Work is going well, and I just got a raise. Since I don't want to be in a relationship for a while, I will focus on my job. Lance couldn't do his job because he cared too much about appearances. He maintained his dignity at home but nowhere else. He should have focused on improving his skills instead. Still, many husbands think divorce papers can be used as a threat. They think they are all that, but they're mistaken. I hope these people get divorced and move on to a life of loneliness. I'm glad Alice broke off their relationship. I hope she meets someone wonderful in the future. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel. See you in our next video.